Hey everyone, Luke here. Hope you're doing well. And today I'm going to talk about quitting smoking. Okay? Now, most importantly, what I really want to talk about is I really want to talk about some of the hidden reasons why people smoke cigarettes, why a nutritional balancing program can help you quit smoking cigarettes, and what you can do with this knowledge once you know some of the true reasons why. Okay? The first one I want to talk about, hidden reason, deep breathing. Okay? Deep breathing. Very important. Second is probably heavy metals. Probably mostly cadmium. And then the third, last, I would rate nicotine. I actually don't believe near as many people are addicted to nicotine as what you're led to believe. I've smoked cigarettes before. I've smoked cigarettes on multiple occasions. And the nicotine high does not last very long. And I think that a lot of times people think that they're addicted to the nicotine, but it's not really the nicotine that they're addicted to. Okay? And I think it's this way with a lot of things. I think it's this way with eating disorders a lot of times, all sorts of dysfunctions in the body. A lot of times people think it's one cause, but in reality, it's not the true cause. And in our society, we're led to believe that the main reason is that people are addicted to nicotine. But I'm not entirely sure that's the case from what I've seen. Okay, so I'm going to talk about some hidden reasons why. One of the biggest reasons is deep breathing. One thing you'll notice about cigarette smokers is that they're shallow breathers. Okay? Very, very few people in our society are ever truly taught or just innately relaxed enough to breathe into their abdomen, to breathe into their belly. Do yourself a favor sometime and watch a child, a very young child, 4 or 5-year-old walking around. Watch how they hold their bellies. Okay, and then compare it to us adults. Okay, children are much better in tune to their true selves, and they don't have all the worldly tensions yet associated with adults' bodies. Adults hold their belly, okay? Women do this in order to look thinner, right? Women will wear tight clothing and suck their bellies in order to look thinner and more attractive. Men do it as well, okay? Although men are usually a little bit better about it, because men just don't generally care quite as much. But if you watch a child, you'll watch them breathe in a wave pattern, right? And their bellies will fill up full of air, okay? It'll fill full of air, and then they'll contract their bellies, right? And it's like the breathing wave. And they're relaxed, and they're supple, and their little bellies are sticking out. They're baby fat, and they don't have a care in the world, okay? If you watch cigarette smokers, they're very shallow breathers. They're breathing into their chest, okay? What happens is they're stressed out. They're working hard at whatever job they have. It might be some kind of menial task, working in a restaurant, working, doing construction, something like that. And then what happens when they smoke a cigarette? They take the cigarette, and they... What happens when you smoke that cigarette? You're enforced to inhale deep into your lungs, right? You're forced to take a deep breath. Most people don't ever take deep breaths except when they're smoking cigarettes, okay? It's basically a form of meditation and a deep breathing exercise for people, and they don't even realize it, okay? If they just took a stick or a Sharpie like this and just did the exercise of breathing, and instead of taking a cigarette break from their work, they just went outside and did that, most of them wouldn't need cigarettes, from what I've seen, okay? So that's a big part of it, is deep breathing. You should be practicing deep breathing every day. Practice filling your belly full of air. Practice releasing the tension in your body, moving energy downwards. Okay, it helps this as well. Second biggest reason in my experience is heavy metals. So when you smoke something, especially cigarettes, they tend to have heavy metals in them. Cigarettes are full of heavy metals, things like cadmium, arsenic, lead, nickel. Okay, it's full of them, especially cadmium. Now, cadmium and all the heavy metals have physiological effects in the body. Okay, so cadmium tends to harden the body. Okay, and the people that smoke cigarettes, they need this hardening. First of all, because most of them are copper toxic, and it makes them more yin and ungrounded, and the cadmium helps harden them in a toxic way. Now you'll see this. Look at people that smoke cigarettes for 30 years. Look at their skin, their appearance, how they go about their lives, who they are, what kind of occupations they tend to do. Pay attention. Pay attention to the world around you. Very important. Okay? People that have smoked cigarettes for long periods of time tend to have a certain type of personality, right? They tend to have a certain type of skin. They tend to be in certain kinds of occupations. They tend to have certain personalities. And this is all related to the metal cadmium. Cadmium tends to actually ground the person to an extent, but it's also a toxic hardening of the body. You can think of cadmium like it hardens the tissues and the arteries, and it makes you more resilient, right? So when they're smoking cigarettes, it's like they're putting on their armor. Okay, the cadmium, it forces the copper. Okay, so all the people are copper toxic, and they're too up in their heads, and they're spacey, and they're yin. And then when they smoke the cigarette, it drives all that back, right? It makes the copper go away for a while. And all of a sudden they become more grounded, and it hardens them, and they love it, right? And it helps them work, right? It helps them work in today's society, helps them compete, it helps them do whatever occupation they're doing, okay? And it helps, it helps harden them to an extent, okay? It's like I said, it's like putting on your toxic armor, right? Because they can't handle the world just beating in on them, right? Just beating on them, and it helps them put on their armor, okay? That's probably the second, or that might even be number one reason. But those two, the deep breathing and the heavy metals, that help to harden it and toughen the body and protect the body, those are the two biggest things, okay? And then third, I would say nicotine, okay? And I have no scientific proof of this, or this is just purely my observations, okay? I think nicotine does play a part. I think nicotine plays a huge part. But I think it's very, very important that people realize that there's other things at play here, and you're not just addicted to nicotine, okay? And I think that's why so many people struggle to quit smoking, especially cigarettes. And keep in mind, the same problem applies to marijuana and pretty much anything you're going to smoke, okay? Marijuana also has a ton of cadmium in it, and also hardens the body in a certain way, okay? And that's why so many people have a hard time quitting. I don't think that people really crave nicotine, because I see so many people, like, they quit for 6 months, right? And then they go back to smoking. And I don't think that they really are craving that nicotine 6 months from now. I think they miss these effects. They miss the deep breathing, because they're shallow breathing, and I think they miss the hardening of the body from the cadmium. Okay? So let's talk about what we do about this. We already talked about deep breathing, right? Just practice deep breathing. You don't need to go outside and smoke cigarettes. Just go like you're inhaling. Basically, you smoke the cigarette without smoking a cigarette, right? I can feel the euphoria just from doing that. I can literally feel that. I can feel a high almost from getting more oxygen in my body right now. Okay? Second of all is what we do about the craving, the hardening of the body. And this is where Nutritional Balancing Program shines. It can really help people. Because I've seen this in other people that have, and I saw this in myself as well, because I used to smoke pot. And I've seen this in people where they crave the cadmium, and one of the reasons is because they're so zinc deficient, okay? And the Nutritional Balancing Program really shines, because it helps you put on your armor as well, okay? Instead of putting the toxic armor on, of the cadmium, the other heavy metals, it lets you put on your zinc armor. It lets you put on your selenium armor, okay? Eating red meat helps, okay? I feel more resilient to the outside world when I eat lamb, okay? Put it on my lamb armor, my red meat armor, okay? And the bodies are so zinc deficient that they crave the cadmium, because the cadmium tends to, what happens is cadmium and zinc, and this is true of many metals, they have the same charge, and so your body's not getting enough zinc, and so it can use cadmium in the same enzyme site, okay? And this is true with the relationship with lots of other minerals. And so zinc, when your body's getting enough zinc, okay, it doesn't need the cadmium Okay? You don't crave the hardening of the, you don't crave to put on that armor because the zinc's providing you. And it's a different kind of armor. It's not this toxic hardening of your mind and your body and everything. It's more of a soft spiritual hardening. It's like the Jesus hardening, right? Jesus was a very resilient man, but he was also a very spiritual man. You can have it both ways, believe it or not. And so the nutritional balancing program, it releases the compensations needed by the cadmium, okay? And it also deals with the copper toxicity. People crave the cadmium because it drives the copper back into the body, okay? And it helps clear their heads. It makes them less spacey. That's very important for people. And so when they reduce the need by eliminating their copper, which is one of the root causes, okay? When they release the copper, this helps them not need the cadmium, okay? Because they're already becoming more grounded. Their energy is already starting to move more downwards, okay? They're getting more zinc in their bodies. And a lot of times people, it just removes the need for cigarettes, and people crave cigarettes much, much less, okay? So that's all I want to talk about, because I think it's very important that there's a lot of reasons why people smoke that they're not quite aware of. And a lot of people think that it's just the nicotine, but I don't necessarily agree with that. I think nicotine plays a part, but I actually think these two things, the deep breathing and the heavy metals, are actually bigger, okay? I might be wrong, okay? This is all just a theory, okay? But it definitely plays a part. Well, it's not a theory, and that these two definitely play a part, but I think they're actually bigger than the nicotine, okay? And you need to address all three, okay? And a nutritional balancing program can really help you release the need for those compensations from the smoking cigarettes, okay? So if you're trying to quit smoking, keep doing your best. Try out a nutritional balancing program, at least take some zinc maybe, and at least practice some deep breathing, and I think it'll help you out a lot. Hope that helps you guys out. Don't forget to subscribe, and I'll talk to you guys later.